15 years, though. Tell me, how's it feel to know you're about to become extinct?
I guess time will tell.
Hi everyone, it's Charlie. This is going to be my Flash Season 5 Episode 21 video. So obviously, next week is going to be the finale, so I'll address what's going on with Crisis on Infinite Earths in Arrow's final season, because it's all connected to Crisis and the stuff that's going to be happening during the crossover this fall. So if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the Easter egg videos. We do Marvel and DC every week. There's a new round of the Flash Ring giveaway too. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave a comment about the episode on the video. Starting with top 10 WTF and Easter eggs. So number 10, Reverse Flash's countdown clock. So the episode begins as Reverse Flash's clock hits 0. The guard that we've been seeing all season comes in. He's like, I'm gonna miss torturing you so much with the very thing that gives you powers. He's basically confirming that the red lightning that we've been seeing them torture Reverse Flash with for the last 15 years, we've seen it in a couple episodes, is actual negative Speed Force energy. The first time we saw it, I noticed that it was red, and I was like, why does it look exactly like Reverse Flash's Speed Force lightning? But they're just confirming that that's exactly what it is. They claim that they're going to use it to kill him eventually. I guess they're just going to give him a fatal dose of energy, and I guess the reason why that's able to kill him, because he normally would channel that Speed Force energy, is just because of the effects of the dagger dampening his powers. You get a really crazy WTF scene of Grace listening to Mindspace Cicada, something that she's probably just created through all of her years of trauma. I don't think that there's actual cicada in there, even though her powers work in a really weird way. Number 9 was Mirror Master's gun. They actually introduced that in last week's episode. I didn't do a video for last week just because there was so much other bigger stuff going on, and the episode was a bit of a snooze fest, but the really important thing that they did was introduce Mirror Master's gun from the comics. And they also had a Josh Williamson Easter egg too. He was one of the street names, and if you don't know who Josh Williamson is, he's the person that's been writing the Flash Rebirth comic ever since the start of Flash Rebirth for the last couple of years. They've been doing a lot of Easter eggs and storylines pulling from his Flash Rebirth run. Like, Nora is kind of a version of Mina with the negative Speed Force. She even wore purple in last week's episode while she was poisoned with negative Speed Force energy, so she almost looked exactly like Mina. There's a lot of time travel going on in that comic book storyline too that they're pulling elements from, but they're not doing the exact Flash Rebirth comic book story. The funny thing about the mirror gun is that they totally don't understand how it works. They only know that it atomizes things, and it's a way to get rid of Cicada's dagger. Like, okay, we'll destroy it with the mirror gun, but when they tested on the original dark matter satellite wreckage that crashed Earth and caused all these problems so long ago, it just disappears into nothingness. It seemingly disappears. They look at each other, they're like, hey, wait a minute, what happened to the satellite? Where'd it go? Who cares? Let's go on to the next problem. That there sounds like a tease for the Mirror World and future Mirror Master things if they introduce the second version of Mirror Master from the comics. McCullough Tech were the people that created the gun as a weapon, but Evan McCullough was the second version of Mirror Master to wear the mantle in the comics. He was actually created by Grant Morrison and appeared in an Animal Man comic before he became a Flash villain. The version of Mirror Master that the Flash TV show did in previous seasons was the original version, Sam Scudder, so they're just moving forward in the rogues. They kind of did the same thing with the other rogues too. Like, we started with Weather Wizard, now we have Weather Witch, his daughter, so it's all just part of their grand plan to slowly introduce younger or newer iterations of the rogues. My guess is, though, that we probably won't see an Evan McCullough Mirror Master until a future season, if they introduce him at all, but the mirror gun is just a really big deal in the way that they're using it in the last couple of episodes. Number 8 is Future Grace's plan to eliminate all the metahumans. She's using the quantum tunneler that they talked about during the episode in combination with the atomizer and a viral version of the cure to just disperse across Central City and get rid of thousands of metahumans and then just move on from territory to territory, slowly eliminating them all over the world. When Sherlock was trying to send Renee Adler to his Earth, they also dropped a bit of a teaser too, like, don't let Cicada know that there are other Earths out there because she'd go crazy. One way or another, they'll have to sew up the Renee Adler plot in the finale, so either that'll become a thing for Cicada, like they're trying to drop a teaser like, oh, maybe Cicada will try to escape to another Earth before they get rid of her. But number 7 was setting up Joe West as the future captain of the police department. I felt like that whole storyline, like him managing that crisis, is just a tease that he will become the official captain of the CCPD in a future season. If you remember way back during Season 3, when Barry went to the future for the first time, I think it was Episode 9, where he saw Iris get killed by Savitar for the first time. Before that happened, there was a little news blurb about Joe West being honored, and I think it was calling him the captain of the CCPD at the time. That was only a few years into the future, so who knows when they're going to pay that off. But because Captain Singh is still a really young man, I think the only way to clear a path for that is if they have Cicada or somebody else kill him on the TV show. Maybe in the finale, maybe they'll do it in a future season. Number 6 was them introducing another one of Cisco's arch nemesis from the Godspeed episode. So they talk about Allen's laboratory. They introduced that idea during the Godspeed episode in the future, where they go to Allen's laboratory. They talk to a couple other people. That's right out of the Firestorm comics. But in this context, he was Cisco's roommate and apparently a really crappy student when they were in college together. So Cisco's just really pissed off about that. So I don't know if they're just trying to connect some dots, but they've been changing the timeline so much that you have to remember that a lot of what they're doing today will affect Nora's future. So when she goes back eventually, things will be very, very different. I think there are a couple of things that they're going to try and pay off. But remember, Crisis on Infinite Earths in the background. We have this Reverse Flash storyline. So there's a whole bunch of storylines that they have to wrap up in the finale. But number 5 is Ralph's timeline explainer. Suddenly he gets super smart. He tried to explain at the beginning of the season and they'd made a really funny moment of it. What if we called it a many-verse? And they're all like face palming. It's called the multiverse, Ralph. He's the one that connects the dots about Reverse Flash's plan, but short term, he's trying to account for all the changes in the timeline. So what happened is in the original version of the timeline, there was a version of Cicada that became a problem. Barry defeated him like he defeats all the other rogues. They went on about their business, but you have Crisis on Infinite Earths in 2024 where Barry disappears per all the newspapers. So Nora gets the idea from Reverse Flash to come back and also the idea to help him defeat the satellite at the end of season 4. That creates a new timeline where the original version of Cicada does not become Cicada. Orlin becomes Cicada. That second timeline leads to Grace eventually taking the mantle once she's old enough. She kills a bunch of people in the future and it's bad. They try to stop her. But then eventually they create another new timeline when that version of Grace comes back and then kills Orlin before he can grow up and pass the mantle to her. So remember when we had the Godspeed episode, it was all Nora in the future. That was before Grace came back in time and changed the timeline. So if Nora were to go back right now, things would already be very different. But it sounds like there are going to be even more changes to the timeline before the end of the finale. Number 4 was them putting Nora in Reverse Flash's containment device from season 1 while she was dueling minds with Grace wielding the negative speed force. The only thing that I didn't like about this Nora storyline during the episode was when Barry and Iris went all crazy town banana pants trying to bench her. Like, no, we don't want you helping out, even though we need everybody we can get. All the stuff that Barry's done, being the Flash, with Nora's version of the Flash, teaching her new skills, that's been a lot of fun. But all the homey parenting stuff that they've been doing has just been way too saccharine. It's a huge snooze fest. I just hope they move past it as fast as possible. One of the other funny things about the episode, too, is when Nora was in Grace's mind space, you see the version of Grace that's just going crazy, chewing through every bit of scenery that she can get. It was a bit of a cringe fest, but maybe they were writing it that way on purpose. Like, we want this to purposefully seem like she's doing a lot of bad acting. But number 3, Grace busts into the Central City Police Department pulling a Supergirl. Ralph makes a Supergirl reference. She uses everyone's powers to charge up her device. They don't have much of a fight scene. They kind of brawl it out for just a brief second while Cisco's trying to disarm the bomb. So number 2, Cisco disarms the atomizer while Barry is being thrown all over the place. The weird thing about his takedown of Grace is that you wonder, like, how powerful is she? Why wasn't he able to pull a move like this earlier? Has he been taking it easy on her? Because like she says, she doesn't need the dagger to take them down. A lot of her abilities are innate. She just uses the dagger to take away other people's powers. But of course, number 1, Reverse Flash's grand plan is revealed. Ralph finishes putting the pieces together just as they're getting ready to vaporize the dagger with the mirror gun or zap it to the mirror world. Because like they say, they have no idea what happens to things when they shoot it with the mirror gun. They just disappear, but seemingly disappear into mirrors. So I think that's just foreshadowing Mirror World. But either way, you learn that in the future, the reason why Grace didn't have the dagger is because the Central City Police Department was using it to nullify Reverse Flash's powers for the last 15 years. So if it wasn't clear what his plan was, he was going to have them destroy the dagger in the past so that in the future, this version of the dagger would just completely disappear. It would vanish from this part of the timeline and his powers would be reactivated. But like I said, the finale is next week. There's only going to be 22 episodes this season instead of 23. It's the same for Arrow. Supposedly, the Monitor is going to guest star in the Arrow finale, and it'll have something to do with the bargain that Oliver made, and that'll push into Crisis on Infinite Earths. If they do a special Monitor Crisis teaser in next week's Arrow episode, then I'll just include that in my Flash finale, so no worries. Let me know in the comments though, what do you think about all this mirror gun? Do you think we're going to see the Evan McCullough Mirror Master in a future season? And what do you think Reverse Flash is going to do that will also help tease Crisis on Infinite Earths? Because they're doing it on Arrow, they'll probably do something like that on The Flash as well. There was even more new Spider-Man Far From Home footage that dropped in the last day, so I'll do a new video for that soon. Obviously, Game of Thrones and all the Avengers stuff that's going on in the background. Leave your video requests in the comments below. Big news too, while I was finishing this video this morning, they dropped the Watchmen HBO teaser trailer. That's not going to premiere to the fall, but HBO is doing a Watchmen TV series, so it is going to be hardcore. I'll try to do a trailer video for that sometime too in the next couple of days.
What are you two talking about?
Oh, nothing. Just the end of the world.
While you wait for everything, click here for my Spider-Man Far From Home trailer with all the multiverse stuff, and click here for my Game of Thrones Season 8 Episode 5 trailer video. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.